Hi, this is Lisa and welcome to my channel. This is going to be the first in a series of videos for live showing and photo showing. Anything to do with showing a model horse. And today we're going to start off with what you need to take to a live show. Now, I have been showing since the 1980s and I have judged many shows including Nan and Brearfest, and I have also held a lot of different shows as a host. One thing with judging, and again with this series, is there's going to be a lot of different opinions. Every judge has different opinions, different interests. However, there is a basis around the showing, and that is what I'm going to cover. I'd like to work through this in a logical manner. The first thing you need is a tablecloth, and this should be the size to cover whichever table that their show venue is giving you. And it will generally tell you if it's rectangular tables, if they're 3 feet, if they're 6 or 8 feet, and anything you need to know about those tables. So you'll need 1 or 2 tablecloths to cover that. And a lot of people have a fancy design on the front with their logo or something like that. Anyways, you're going to have a tablecloth, as the tables are generally in fairly bad condition. Next, you will need tags for your horse. Most model horse shows use 1 3/4 inch by 1 3/32 inch paper tabs that you'd buy at somewhere like Business Depot. Now, when you come to the show, these should already be filled out as per the show requires and attached to the back leg of your horse, or whatever leg is most appropriate depending on the shape of your horse. But you should also bring extras, first in case one falls off, or more likely an extra horse has ran loose and ended up in your herd. Now that you've arrived at the show, you're going to need some paper to keep notes and pens. Now, bring a few pens. They tend to disappear. You just want to make sure you have pens. They are very important. Also, bring money. You may need to pay for lunch. You may need to pay for more classes, or you'll probably have to buy lots and lots of things like model horses. Before you get to the show, you should also have a class list fully printed out. And on each class, if you have a model going in it, print the model's name or handwrite the model's name next to each class. Therefore, when you get to the show, as the classes go along, you can see the class called and you'll know if you have a model in that class or not. And during this crazy rush of a live show, that's very helpful. When you're placing your models out on the table, when you get to the show, you have all your models lined up. The next thing I like to do is get out my reference cards. Now, I'm going to go into depth in another video about how to make proper reference cards. And the one thing as a judge I really don't like to see is people that put a book on the table. Just open the book and there you go, judge, go at her. One of the things that's really good is to show as a shower that you have the initiative to do the research for your reference cards. And the Nan reference cards are 3 by 5 inches and they allow another 8.5 by 11 inch page. But I have always kept my reference material to the Nan size 3.5 and I laminate it. Again, I'll go through that in depth. But put your reference cards, and I mean there may be more than one if you're doing different classes, right next to your horses on the table so that when your class is called, you're prepared, because it can get pretty hectic. So if you're just showing halter, or if you're showing halter at all, you're going to need a makeup brush, a blush brush. I like to use a piece of fabric, this is for eyeglasses, lint-free, and a couple Sharpies, just in case you have a little nick on the ear or somewhere. If a Sharpie can do a little touch-up, it could be the make between a win and no placing at all. So now you have your model. And another thing I like is a mat. This one I made myself like the same way I made the saddle pads. So this way you can move the model around without it getting damaged. So your class gets called, you take your model, you make sure there's nothing on there that's dirty, like that one. Once you're happy with it, basically any dirt removed, you then take it up to the table at the show. And you're going to place it on the table, close to the edge, but not too close that it's going to fall off. And what you want to do is have the better side towards the table. Now the judge is going to look all the way around. However, you want the better side facing the judge first. Now that you've got the model on the table at the show, your card or reference tag is correct side up, which is not the horse's name or your name, but the breed. The next thing you're going to do is take your brush and get rid of any little bit of extra that you've missed. It is really important. If I took this model to a show right now, this would not do well because of all the dirt along here. He's been sitting out for a year in his barn, so he's not clean. But when you go to a show, it has to be clean. I've seen once at one show as a judge that somebody had a dead spider on the base. And well, that didn't work for me. So make sure your model is clean. The thing you should not forget to bring is your glasses if you need them, and I do. So once the class is finished, they'll call you to come up and get your model. At that point, to take your model, your prizes or whatever, and your reference material and take it back to your table. Now, if the model is placed in the top two, you're going to leave the model out, or as well as if he has another class. If not, I recommend putting him in his pony pouch or whatever you use, wrapping him up and putting him in the box. That way, you'll have less on your table to work with as each class goes down. So as a class goes down, you take him, and then on your piece of paper that you brought with all your class list and his name, put next to his name if he won, like first, second, or whatever, and put the prize. And then put him with whatever his winnings are, if he's going to go back for callbacks, safely on your table with his stuff so that when you have callbacks, you're ready to go back up. Now, if you're performance showing, what I generally do is I tack the model up, if possible, before I come to the show with the equipment that it needs for its first class. That way when you get there, you're not running around like crazy trying to get him tacked up. Now, I'm going to go in detail into different classes in future videos, but just for what you need in your kit, we're going to go through now. And I keep my kit in a small box that I don't use, I just use it for shows. And in that kit, the brush, again, you're going to need a brush for your tack. Tweezers are a very useful item when you're tacking up to get through buckles. Small set of sharp scissors. And some fast drying glue, because you never know what's going to fall off. The other thing you should have for any additional tack, it should be in its own separate Ziploc bag. That way, if anything falls off, like the silver, it's all contained inside the bag. And when it's finished with it, it can go back inside the bag. Tack boxes are great, beautiful to have, but I find this is easier for me because I can take it out, I can put it next to the model, so if a model needs a change of clothes, I have it next to the model on the table ready to go. Another helpful thing is some little pointy sticks. These are toothpicks, and you'll find them, they come in quite useful. And last but not least is sticky wax. Now, I generally don't use sticky wax, I use glue dots. Another thing is dental wax. So having some of that wax is good, not only for keeping the bit in place, the rider's hands in place, the reins in place, but if you have a tippy model, in just for any kind of class, you can put a little tiny spot under his feet, because that is better than lying a model down. Because the judge, as soon as the model lies down, it shows it doesn't stand well. And that can be considered by some to be a defect if all the other models of the same type are standing up. So a little tiny bit of wax under his feet, make him sturdy in the table, and you don't have to worry about him. Thanks for joining me in this first video on showing. If you have any other items you think people should bring, add them to the comments below, please. And next up, we're going to learn and get Tina in Western Pleasure. See you then.